Hola a todos, ¿cómo están? Buena tarde, bienvenidos. Muchas gracias por acompañarnos. Vale, los voy saludando como veo que han entrado y como los veo en el chat. Miss Ada Crescencio, buenas tardes, gracias por acompañarnos. Profesor Luis Tavares, bienvenido. Miss Aurea Díaz, gracias por acompañarnos, gracias por estar por acá. Tenemos en pantalla a Miss Nelly de León, buena tarde, gracias por estar por acá. Miss Adriana Vega, bienvenida. Gracias a todos por acompañarnos, bienvenidos. Miss Perla Rubí del Colegio Paideia en Tabasco, gracias por acompañarnos. Miss Elsa Lorena Quirós. Miss Ada Crescencia, es de La Salle, de Acapulco, gracias por acompañarnos desde el puerto, muy bien. Buenísimo, Miss Sara, gracias por estar por acá, buena tarde. Profesor Carlos Josué Vaz Canul, desde Mérida, Yucatán. Mira, pues estábamos platicando ahorita, Jesús, de Mérida y del clima, buenísimo. Muy bien. Bueno, pues muchas gracias a todos por acompañarnos. Me presento para que podamos aprovechar el tiempo, porque bueno, vamos puntualitos, pero hay que aprovechar. Para aquellos que no me conocen, yo soy Joseph Torres, soy el gerente académico de Compartir México. Me da mucho gusto estar por acá. Como hemos dicho a lo largo de esta semana, pues no esta semana, sino la anterior más bien, pues seguimos buscando cómo apoyar el proceso de aprendizaje, ¿no? Sabemos que ha sido un reto, sabemos que ha sido muy importante estar buscando nuevas maneras de llegar con los chicos, y en ese sentido, pues nos hemos dado la tarea de desarrollar una serie de sesiones que van enfocadas a ayudar a desarrollar mejores prácticas, mejores sesiones, diseñar una serie de, pues a lo mejor de herramientas o de sesiones propias con diferente manera de trabajarse, ¿no? Sabemos que el confinamiento nos tiene innovando constantemente, y entonces, pues en ese sentido, nosotros nos hemos dado la tarea de ayudarles en este proceso de innovación para encontrar las mejores prácticas y cómo poder trabajar con nuestros chicos de una manera diferente, ¿vale? Y en esa línea, pues toca hoy una sesión de diseño de clases, como parte de la continuidad de la semana pasada. Hoy toca una sesión de diseño de clases para primaria y secundaria, pero con un enfoque específico en inglés, ¿vale? Y en ese sentido, la sesión de hoy va a estar llevada por Jesús Ruiz. Jesús es coach académico que radica en la ciudad de Villahermosa, Tabasco. Me da mucho gusto que nos acompañe hoy. Y bueno, pues también platicarles que obviamente parte del equipo académico está dando acompañamiento. Tenemos conectados por acá al equipo académico, tenemos a Ángela Anchondo como nuestra especialista de inglés, tenemos a Claudia Pacheco, coordinadora de innovación, proyectos académicos e inglés, tenemos a Viri Leal, que ya vieron a Viri por ahí hace una semanita, nos pasó muy buenos Viri tips. Tenemos a Iván Escobedo por ahí conectado, parte del equipo también. Zuli, pues en la cuenta de Compartir, y Mariana Rojas, que también forma parte del equipo académico, ¿no? Todos estaremos brindando apoyo a lo largo de la sesión para, pues, si existe alguna duda, si hay alguna inquietud, alguna pregunta que quieran compartirnos, con mucho gusto desde el chat la vamos a poder ir revisando. De igual manera, pues ya saben, el aviso parroquial, tenemos las cuentas de redes sociales, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. En esas estamos compartiendo obviamente mucha información, calendarios, muchas sesiones, ¿no? Materiales que estamos seguros que les van a ser de utilidad. Y finalmente, pues recuerden que tienen una cuenta de correo en la cual nos pueden solicitar apoyo, que es la cuenta de coachcompartirmx@santillana.com. Si tienen alguna duda, con gusto ahí nos pueden buscar. Esta sesión también está siendo transmitida a través de YouTube. Con esto, la ventaja que tenemos es que la sesión la van a poder encontrar prácticamente inmediatamente. Es decir, al terminar la sesión, pues ya la van a poder estar consultando, ¿vale? Y bueno, pues de mi parte es todo. De nueva cuenta les agradezco que estén por acá, que nos regalen un ratito de su tarde. Y bueno, pues dejo micrófono a Jesús. Disfruten la sesión. Cualquier cosa estamos aquí para apoyarlos, ¿vale? Muchas gracias, Jesús.
Perfect. So thank you, Joseph, for everything, for introducing me, and welcome. Hello and good afternoon to everyone. Just as Joseph told you, my name is Jesus Armando. Jesus Ruiz. I work in Villahermosa, and it is an honor to be here once again and be able to share with you and talk to you a little bit about something which is quite important, and it has to do with the resources that can be found in Stella. Now, I need to mention something, because when you got the invitation, you may have realized that it's set only for high schoolers. However, here, just as he mentioned, and as you can tell by the title of the presentation, it is for both elementary schoolers and high schoolers, because it's important for you as teachers to know everything that you have at your disposal, and then you can make the proper decisions whenever you are preparing your online lessons. And based on that, actually, the objective of this session is to help you identify, select, and make the most out of the resources you have in your platform, in Stella, in combination with others, because you can mix and match. You can use some of the resources that you have from different websites. You can use resources that you have in your platform as well. So without any further ado, you should, just give me 1 second. This is the agenda. This is what we're going to be working with today. And we're going to start with a section that is called, how well do you know me? And it is an activity. It's a game that you can play with your students right now. For the time being, it's going to be just about me. But I will tell you a little bit more about that in just a moment. Then we're going to check very quickly the approaches you can choose from when it comes to online teaching. The main characteristics, the advantages, disadvantages, and the recommendations that you should keep in mind whenever you decide the way you work with your students. And then we're going to be working with the skills that you can help your students develop, as well as the recommendations. And last but not least, we're going to have a Q&A session at the end, just to answer any questions that need answering, or any doubts, any problems, any questions overall that you may have. Okay, so this is what we're going to do today. Hopefully, we're going to be able to complete it in the time that we have. And we're going to start with this, how well do you know me? I know most of you may not know me, but this is a game, and it's about 2 truths and 1 lie. Obviously, just as I told you, given for the time being, we're going to share information about myself. What I need you to do, I'm going to project 3 different statements. One of them is a lie, and you just need to tell me which one you think the lie is. Now, I understand we're working a little bit different right now because the chats are, not like available for everyone, but you can text me directly when you're in the chat. You can find my name, look for my name, find it, click on it, and then you can text me directly, or you can share the information with whoever you want within the list. You just need to choose like 1, 2, or 3. Not a big deal, but there you go. The first one is like, I'm very good at crafting things such as dioramas, origami figures, and stuff. The second one is that I'm a frustrated YouTube content creator, sorry. And the third and last one is that I speak a little bit of German, but I don't remember much of it. So if you can help me here in the chat, just typing the numbers that you think the lie is. So it could be number 1, it could be number 2, or it could be number 3. Thank you. I have a number 2 over here. Once again, just feel free to thank you. Number 1, number 3. True. Okay, Miss Aurea, this is interesting because you said, okay, you're giving me the truths. So number 1 and 3 and 1. So according to you, number 2 is the lie. Miss Nelly is telling me number 1 is a lie. Number 2. Okay. Interesting. Okay, number 1. So far, I think I have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think number 2 is the one that is like leading right now. Okay, so according to you, number 2 is a lie. I'm a frustrated YouTube content creator. You don't think that's true? We're going to find out later on. By the way, I should be telling you the truth right now, but I'm not going to, because I want to find out if you change your mind based on what you see, based on what you hear within the next couple of minutes, okay? But according to you, number 2 is the lie. So let's move on and let's start working with actually the recommendations and everything that we have to check today. So the first thing that you can see right now is the YouTube logo. And I'm sure you're familiar with this platform. I mean, I'm sure you know YouTube and you use it quite frequently. But how often do you find yourselves finding a video of something that interests you, something that you like, maybe a YouTuber that you follow, and you click on the video, but you end up quitting the video after a while, like after a couple of minutes. And in my personal case, it happens more often than I would like to admit. And it has to do, or I have come to realize that it has to do with the attention span. couple of years ago, I remember I was able to watch videos, like very long videos, without getting bored, without getting impatient. But nowadays it's different. And I think it has to do with the more stimuli we get, the more selective our brains become. And the same happens with students, okay? So you just need to keep that in mind, because if you imagine your students like being invited, to say it that way, to watch a video or a very long video, which is instructional or educational, it's a little bit complicated for them to be interested. So keep that in mind. And maybe these are the very first things that we need to consider when you decide to work online. Number one would be to get your students' attention. It's very important to get it. Number two, once you get your students' attention, you need to keep it. And in order to keep it, you need to be very concise, very precise, you need to cut to the chase. So if you are using videos, keep them short, okay? Just keep that in mind. Keep everything simple and make it interesting, make it fun for them. Now, I'm not going to get into details with this because you already know there are two different approaches when it comes to online teaching. You have asynchronous the teaching, and you have synchronous teaching. You know, the asynchronous one happens basically whenever you decide. It happens on your schedule because you set the date and you set the time and you just upload whatever it is that you have in mind, and then the students can log in whenever they feel like it, and they can work at their own pace. So you basically, as teachers, provide the materials for reading, the lectures for viewing, assessments for evaluating your students' progress, maybe activities to complete, or help the students develop something in particular. And here, one of the characteristics of this approach or this method is that it involves streaming videos. But the difference is that here you stream your videos that have been pre-recorded, whereas with the other one, the synchronous method, you are live streaming videos. And we're going to speak a little bit about this one as well, because this one happens in real time. It's not like you upload things and then your students can go log in and check the information when they feel like it, or when they need, or when they have the time. This one happens in one particular moment. So basically that means that your students, maybe your coordinators, your principals, or whoever decides to join in your session, interact in one virtual place at one specific point in time through one specific medium, just like the ones that you have been using so far, or the ones that Joseph shared with you 2 weeks ago, including this one, Zoom, Google Hangouts, Skype, and so on. So that would be basically the difference between one another. Obviously, when you speak about the synchronous teaching, you need to keep in mind that you also have streaming videos, but this time they are live streaming videos. So obviously both of them have advantages, both of them have disadvantages, and you need to find out like which one is more suitable for you and the way you're working with your students. As you can tell, or as you can see right now with the projection, you have the asynchronous method and you have the advantages and disadvantages. Now, the most obvious or the most glaring advantages that you can see from here is basically flexibility. Because you're, okay, so the students are able to, I'm sorry, I don't know if you're still with me.
Yes, we are here, but we lost you a few seconds.
Okay, and I don't know what happened. Angie, can you see the screen?
Yes, we're watching the online teaching.
Okay, perfect. So I think we're okay. So thank you, Angie. Just as I was telling you, pacing is all about rhythm, and the students decide in which way they can work on the assignments. If they want to work like with all the assignments in one day, or if they want to spread them out in multiple days. And that leads us to the last advantage, or the most common one, which is affordability, because maybe you have some students who are struggling to find electronic devices or Wi-Fi connections, stable Wi-Fi connections, like the one that I'm not having right now. So that way the students can get all the information because you upload it to the platform, and then they can start working by themselves and then just send the products. Obviously, on the other hand, you have the drawbacks, and these disadvantages, the most obvious one is isolation, because when you work with this kind of approach, your students are working by themselves. They're not interacting with you, they're not interacting with anyone, and it's a little bit more complicated because when you take away this interaction, you can end up with apathy, okay? Depending on the age of the students, but it could happen. And also you should know, or you know, that humans need this kind of interaction. If you take it away, it's not going to be that interesting for your students. Now, moving on to the synchronous online approach, you have the advantages, which are basically the opposite of the disadvantages of the previous one, but turned all the other way. So here, instead of isolation and apathy, students get engaged. They feel motivated. They are working in a very dynamic lesson with lots of things to do, lots of chances to speak, lots of chances to practice, and a lot of instructional depth. And instructional depth, well, it's basically the interaction with you, because in case they have any questions, in case they have any problems, they know they can count on someone to help them out. And they also get the chance to work collaboratively, and learning can be more meaningful that way. Now, something that is very important to keep in mind is that just because you work online or just because you work with this kind of approach, it doesn't necessarily mean that all the students will be engaged and they will be learning in a very dynamic lesson. That's up to you. And it's up to you with the way you teach or the activities that you choose to assign to your students. Because if you go online and instead of having the students speak, instead of allowing them to interact with one another, you just start explaining things, well, it's not going to be that interesting. There won't be a click, if you know what I mean. Now, the disadvantages with this approach is that it's very rigid with the schedule. And you may also have technical difficulties like the one that I just had a couple of seconds ago. You may take all the precautions, you may check, you may plan in advance, but when the time comes, something happens, something that is out of your hands, but it does. And if it does, well, you need to have a backup plan. You need to have a plan B, maybe a plan C in order to react very quickly and continue working as scheduled. So those are the main two approaches. You have asynchronous and synchronous. But the question is, would it be too much to ask for both? Or would it be too much to ask for one that represents or that includes all the advantages without the disadvantages? Well, the answer is no. The answer is no. And I'm sorry, I am just checking that I have some comments here in the chat, but it is yes. Oh, no, I assume that you were answering that you could see my presentation and everything. Thank you, Ms. Gemma, and thank you, Ms. Aurea. So it wouldn't be too much. The good thing about this is that you can combine, you can use both of them. And if you attended Margarita's webinar a couple of days ago, she was speaking about flipping the classroom. So we're going to continue working that way. And today I'm going to share with you the 4 basic recommendations you need to keep in mind whenever flipping the classroom. So we're going to start with number 1, which is the one that you have here. The very first thing you need to do is you need to pre-record your lessons, okay? Once that you have recorded your lessons, you need to share them with your students. But the idea behind this is that if you have some students who are struggling with internet access and or they don't have the time, they will miss the live streaming lecture. And if they do, there's no other way to help them. Also, if you record your videos right now, if you think about the future, it's not like you're going to continue working this way in the next school year, but if you have a student who's struggling with something in particular, you can share the video. You have something that was created by you, and you are quite sure that you can share it because, well, it has your seal of approval. So keep that in mind. And if you record your videos, you share them via your platform, then when the online meeting takes place, all your students will be prepared and they will have a better understanding or a better idea of what they have to do, or what they have to accomplish. So before you start recording your videos, there are a couple of things that you need to keep in mind, and those are the ones that you have listed over here. First of all, having a script can be a life changer. Some of my my co-workers, some of my friends here with their webinars were sharing that if you happen to have or if you happen to record a video and you don't have a script, instead of having a 5-minute video, you can end up with a 15-minute video. And it would be way too much, way too long, and a little bit overwhelming for the students. Also, if you, for whatever reason, make a mistake almost at the end of the video and you don't have the chance to make some edits, to crop it, to edit it, you will have to reshoot it, and it's time consuming. So having a script can be the difference between a happy and pleased teacher and a frustrated one. So keep that in mind. Now, just because you have a script, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to explain or say everything you have it in the way you typed it down. It's free, it's like flexible, it's your script, so make sure yeah, to modify it, to adjust it. You can do whatever you want with it. You don't have to say everything you have there. You just use it as a guideline, okay? Now, when you're recording your videos, you need to keep them short. You need to be very, well, you need to cut to the chase. You need to go straight to the point because of the attention span that I was speaking about a couple of minutes ago. And you don't want to get your students distracted. So you want to be like very, very precise. Now, what happens if you have more things to say? What happens if 4 minutes is not enough for you? That's okay. Instead of recording just one very long video, record multiple videos, multiple short videos, okay? Maybe 2 or 3 videos, or 2 or 3 4-minute videos, and that would be it, okay? Something else you need to keep in mind is that you need to be yourself. Don't be afraid if it is the first time you're doing this, or if it is the first time you're using specific software. It's okay, you can talk to your students, you can tell them, and also try to make them feel welcome, make them feel warm, make them feel related to the person they are looking at on the screen. They can be like, oh yes, I know that person. That's the teacher I have been working with for the last couple of months. I think that, yes, Miss Aurea, short videos are very useful. And by short, I mean like 2, 3, maybe 4 minutes, depending on the topic you're teaching or depending on the things or the lectures that you have in mind. But yeah, short videos are like ideal. That's one of the main points that you need to keep in mind. And then also, well, research has shown that you can use your face, you can show your face, and it has a better impact. It has a more effective result within your students. Now, when you were attending Michelle's webinar, she was speaking about a software and a website, I think, that you can use to embed your videos, to use picture-in-picture. That's something you can do. If you are shy and you don't want to be there in front of the camera all the whole time, well, then you can intersperse your video and you can start narrating something and then stop the narration, be in front of the camera, and then start talking to your students and then go back to the narration. So it's up to you, but be there. Let your students know you're there. Let them see you, okay? And last but not least, you need to question your students. You need to challenge your students. It's not just about sharing information. It's not just about transmitting information. So make sure that you ask them relevant questions, okay? You need to make them interested in what you're saying. You need to make them reflect on the information that you're saying, because once again, our brains are very selective. If the students don't reflect on what they're saying or what they're getting or what they're hearing, it's not going to be there forever. It's just going to be there for a couple of maybe hours, maybe days, and then that's it. So this is number one. This is the first recommendation you need to keep in mind. The second recommendation has to do with sharing the videos. Now that you have recorded your videos, it's now time to upload them to the platform, share them in preparation for the online meeting. But before you do that, first of all, you need to be sure that you are giving clear instructions to your students, okay? It's not like sharing a video by itself. It's not going to be any good. It's basically as productive as asking your students to write their names a couple of times or 100 times in a sheet of paper. It's going to be okay for them because they're practicing their handwriting, but is there a real purpose behind giving that assignment, or do the students even know why they're doing the things they're doing? So whenever you share your videos, they need to be with clear instructions as to what they have to do with it, okay? And obviously, well, the follow-up activities. Now, there is a special new function in the platform that is coming your way soon enough. And now you will be able to create very specific short interactive activities. And that way you can measure, or you can assess the students' progress based on the video that you shared. So you can do a lot of things. You can have your video uploaded and create your own exercises. By the way, your coaches will be in touch with you with when this is ready, and they will explain everything there is to be explained already. Now, given the length of the videos and that we have established they should be very short videos, if you think you need to include more examples, either for mechanical drills or for procedures, because maybe they're working with a project, that's okay. You need to include them, but include them in the assignment, okay? Include them when you're working on the platform. And the clearer instructions and more examples you have, or the students have, the easier it will be for them to perform or to complete everything they need to do. And when you're thinking about the assignments and the follow-up activities, the final products maybe that you're asking your students, you need to be careful and set very realistic and achievable goals. Because when you create quizzes, for example, you should make sure that all the questions can be answered by referring to the given lecture resources, the reading material that you shared, and so on. when you ask students to write a summary of something that you shared, maybe a reading they had, make it clear that it is not a serious report. It's a report, yeah, they are practicing, they have to write, but it's not the report. It's not like something that they will be evaluated and that will be like the final grade or something. Make them make them feel more confident with the activities that they need to complete. And remember, it's better and more satisfying for students to complete multiple simple objectives than leaving one big, demanding, and ambitious objective incomplete. Now, the third characteristic or the third recommendation that you need to keep in mind has to do with the online meeting, okay? You recorded your videos, good. You shared your videos, good. Now we need to address the elephant in the room, and it has to do with the online meeting. How long should the online meeting be? Just because your face-to-face classes tend to last like 50 minutes, maybe 2 hours, depending on your school or depending on your schedule, it doesn't mean the same goes for online lessons. They don't need to be that long, okay? Online sessions should be used carefully and kept short. Don't overstay your welcome. Don't have a 50-minute session when a 20-minute session will do. And here comes two big possible ifs, or scenarios. And depending on the school you're working, if you have the chance or if you have the liberty to decide when you're going to have the next session, well, maybe don't do it yourself. Maybe grant your students, empower your students to decide when they want to have the next meeting. If that's not the case, if your school is asking you to work from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. because they need to take different subjects and so on, that's okay as well. Do it, but try to keep it short, okay? Don't have like very long sessions. Now, something you need to keep in mind is that whenever you're learning or acquiring languages, the more exposure you have, the easier for students it is. So instead of having like a 2-hour online session every Monday and Friday, maybe you can have like 1-hour sessions every day. And that way the students are more exposed to the language. Something else you need to keep in mind is the way you communicate with your students whenever you are online. And this group communication shouldn't be used for direct teaching. Something you need to always remember is that you're not getting online to teach something to your students, okay? That's why you pre-recorded your videos, because that was the lecture. That's something you're sharing with your students. When you get online, it's because you need to pay close attention to any questions they have, any problems, any doubts, and provide social support and checking any issues that need to be solved immediately, okay? And also, when you get online, give them the chance to speak, okay? Because you want your students to speak. It's not you who need to practice, it's them. They need to practice. So if you spend like 30 minutes online and all you do is asking your students to open their books and complete the exercises they have there mechanically, well, that's something you can do offline. And you can use the time, well, a little bit better. And instead of giving you or the spotlight or taking the spotlight, you should give it to the students, okay? Have the students make a presentation, have a discussion, play some games with your students, but make them speak. And well, the interaction is very important because otherwise your lesson will be just a monologue that you're speaking there. And having fun while learning is something that will make the process very memorable and more meaningful for your students, something you need to bear in mind. And now the fourth and last recommendation that I have for you has to do with once that you have your online lesson or your online lesson is over, you need to wrap it up. Okay, so this is a chance you have if you found out that you could help your students develop some other skills. You can assign any last-minute activities. You can assess your students. You have to provide feedback to your students every time you are here because they need to do how they did it. If they did it okay, if they didn't do okay, why they did okay, why they didn't do okay, and so on. So give proper feedback every time you have the chance, and also make sure to create a nexus of topics. If you're working with this topic and this is the last time you're going to check it, okay, that's fine, but how can I connect this to what's coming next week? Always ask yourself that, and then you can introduce a new topic based on what you just checked. So, do we have any questions so far? If you have any questions, you can share them in the chat. I'm reading it. Or, no? I think it's everything's fine. Okay, perfect. Moving on. And let's just, thank you, Ms. Aurea. Before we continue, let's just summarize it. Let's sum it up. 4 recommendations. Number 1, it has to do with pre-recording your videos, okay? Keep them short, be yourself, be there for your students. And the second one has to do with sharing those videos, give them clear instructions, assign any follow-up activities, and then give them a real reason to use the information. Number 3 has to do with the online meeting. Keep it short once again. And it's not about you. I'm sorry, but it's not you. It's your students. They are the most important thing here. So it's about the students. Give them the chance to speak. And number 4, once you have had your online lesson, wrap it up and connect it to what's coming next. Now, I need your help with this. You're going to answer a very simple question in Poll Everywhere. You have the link over there. And the thing is that how often do you reflect on your choices? How often do you actually sit and think about, okay, my next class is in 2 days. What am I going to do with my students? What skills do I want them to develop? What do I want to assign them as follow-up activities? It should happen every day, or it should happen every time you're going to have a session. But if it doesn't, I invite you to do it. Oh, that's awesome. You think about it every day. That's perfect. That's the way it should be. And right now you should have the website. So please go there. And what you have to do is you have to click on the picture, click on the section that you consider is the most important skill to help your students develop. If you think speaking is the most important thing to help your students develop, click on speaking. If you think grammar is the most important thing, click on grammar. So it's up to you. Just go there and give me some answers, please. I have 1 answer here with speaking, or 2 of speaking, 1 with vocabulary. Thank you very much. What else? Oh, by the way, the link was provided in the chat in case you don't have it. So I have 3 responses so far. If you could help me with others, I would appreciate it. Oh, I have 1 with writing, 2 with speaking, 1 with vocabulary, and I think that's it so far. Let's just give it a couple of seconds. And let's see if I get more results. Also, if you want to share your answer here in the chat, feel free to do it. It's okay. Obviously, it's a little bit more visual if you have it in the picture, but it's okay. So 1 grammar, 2 with writing, 1 with functions, 2 with speaking, 1 with vocabulary. And I have here functions. Okay, thank you very much, Miss Elizabeth Sanchez. Miss Ada, speaking, thank you. Miss Lina, I think it's Lina, listening. Okay, so we have, let's see if we can wrap it up. Angie, by the way, I need your help just to remember the most important one. So far we have speaking with 2, functions with 2, no, with 3 actually, grammar with 2, writing with 2, reading with 2, vocabulary with 1. So I think it's speaking and functions. Okay, so thank you very much for sharing this information. I think we have more information, more answers with the speaking. Now, what happens here? If you're going to work online, this flow chart or this diagram, this roadmap, which I'm about to show you, it's not like the only way you can work with your students. This is one suggestion. This is just a recommendation, but it's up to you to make it yours, okay? Feel free to change it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, modify it and then make it yours. But when you are about to have your online sessions, the very first thing you need to do is you need to pre-record your lessons and then share them with your students. That's it. It's a no-brainer. It has to be done. But then you need to ask yourself this question. Is it the first time you're introducing this topic or this grammar structure? And if the answer is yes, if it is the first time you're introducing it, then you can start working with vocabulary as you have it there. Vocabulary, grammar, and listening. The reasoning for this is that you need to give the students more lexical sets. The more vocabulary they have, the easier it will be for them to express their ideas, to argue, to discuss, to justify what they're saying. And then they also need to work with grammar. They need to work with mechanical drills. It has to be done, but it could be done offline. Okay, don't forget that. And then you can work on listening because the students need to be able to hear different speech patterns, different rhythms, different enunciations, intonations, pronunciation. It's not just about you. It's about having your students exposed. So you can work that way. Now, if you have more time or if you want to expand it a little bit, then you can introduce a vocabulary. You can work with the grammar, but instead of moving on to the listening, then you can introduce functions, because the students will be working with the same vocabulary, but with different situations. So it's not just about learning the vocabulary by heart. It's about acquiring the vocabulary and learning when to use it in real life situations, or different situations by all means. Then, if you want to, you can start working with vocabulary, then you move on to grammar, but instead of working with the functions, you introduce a new skill. You use the reading skills, and then you use the listening skill. Obviously, you need to make sure to give real purpose for your students. They need to know what they are doing, okay, and why they're doing it. And last but not least, you have functions, you have reading, you have listening, but now you have writing. And if you notice, it goes from like the easiest one to the more complex one, okay? It increases gradually the difficulty. And that's because if you have more time, or if you have like more students who are like very good at English, then you can start using different skills within the same assignment. Now, if it is not the first time you're teaching this topic or this subject or this structure, then maybe you can do things differently, because you can start working with functions. Instead of introducing vocabulary, you just go straight to functions, real life English, okay, in real life situations. Then you work with the listening, and then you go to the writing, which is a little bit more challenging than the other skills. Remember that you want your students to focus on the two productive skills, writing and speaking. Then if you don't want to work this way, then you can introduce a new vocabulary, maybe more challenging vocabulary for your students, depending on their level, then listening, then writing. But here there's a new one, which is collaboration. Now, why is collaboration not included within the first ones? Because if it is the first time you're working with your students, if it is the first time you're introducing this topic, then it will be a little bit too forced if you ask your students to make a presentation including that particular topic. I remember when I was learning the language, I had teachers who were like, okay, you're going to make a presentation. It's all about the second conditional, and you have to use the second conditional in the presentation. What happened was that I immediately turned off all my ideas. I didn't care about the presentation. I only cared about being able to use sentences with the second conditional, because I knew my teacher was going to evaluate me that way. So instead of doing that, maybe get your students familiar with the topic, get them familiar with the structure, and then when they know it, they can start working together and they will use it without realizing. It's just a suggestion, okay? Then if you don't want to, you can start working with the reading, the listening, and then the collaboration. You forget about functions, you forget about vocabulary, you just work on the skills, and you have students working together. And last but not least, you can work with the reading, the listening, the writing, and collaboration. The thing is, which one was the most voted one, Angie?
There was a tie between speaking and functions.
Thank you very much. So it was speaking and functions. If you notice, speaking is nowhere to be found here. And that's because speaking should be left at the end of the session, basically when you get online, okay? That's where you will do all the speaking. Obviously, you can start asking your students to record something in advance, but you can do it here if you want to. Now, I have here some of the options that you could choose from, and we're going to check all of them according to your preferences. Functions and speaking, I think, were the most voted ones, but we're going to check all of them regardless. So we're going to start with vocabulary, and how can you work with vocabulary with your students? To begin with, you should be looking at my browser by now. Thank you, Angie. So when you want to work with vocabulary with your students, you can start using English Attack. You have it there, okay? And yes, I understand that English Attack is only for high schoolers and for 5th and 6th grade in elementary school. But there is another way you can work vocabulary with your students, including the information in Stella. But this is one way to do it. And remember, when you're working in English Attack, you have the basic vocabulary, you have the advanced vocabulary as well. And then you have the flashcards over here with pronunciation, the type of expression it is, the meaning or the translation of the word or the words in case your students don't know it, and the example sentence. So this is a very easy way to work vocabulary with your students. You can assign everything from English Attack, and that's it. You get all the reports, you get the results, everything is done for you, okay? It's very, very simple. Now, you can work with English Attack, just as I told you. Or if you want to create your own exercises or you want to create your own flashcards, then you can start using software or websites like Quizlet. You know that Quizlet allows you to create your own flashcards. And yes, you can use the text-to-speech recognition and that way the students will be able to hear the words. But you have concepts, you have definitions, you have even games like here. They can learn the lexical set. They can practice the writing, the spelling. They can play some games as well, and so on. Now, just as I told you, what happens if you're working with first, second, or third grade in elementary school? Well, you have the flashcards, and you can use these flashcards, which you can find right here. When you go to Stella, by the way, I'm going to elementary. When you're in Stella and you go here to, here, to temas generales, or the projects, the general projects, and then you go to ciclo anual, you select the English because that's what you're looking for. I'm not going to check all the folders. I'm just going to write here flashcards, which I think I have here. And there you have it. You have the interactive flashcards. So when you use the flashcards, you get something like this. So it doesn't really matter if you're working with first, second, third, fourth, fifth, or sixth grade. You can use flashcards all the way in elementary school. If you don't have the flashcards at your disposal in high school, then you can use English Attack, or you can create yours, okay? And you have the definition, you have the picture, and you also have the audio track included. Now, this is for vocabulary, but what happens with grammar? What can you do with grammar? Well, with grammar, you have this. Let me show it to you, and I have it right here. This, by the way, I'm going back to the home section. This is the interactive workbook for some of the series. You have thumbs up over here. Let's say you're working on the second conditional. You have here the games, you can play the games. And the good thing about this is that it comes with immediate feedback for students. So they know if they did well, if they didn't do well, and what happened in that particular session. So this is something you keep in mind, for you to keep in mind. And you can also use it in high school because, let me go back once again to the home screen. This is awesome, and the series is awesome. And this is an interactive, or the Libro web as well, so that you can use the interactive exercises with your students. You select the lesson, you have the listenings, you have the exercises in which you need to type the information, you can check, well, the students can check the answers, and once again, it has immediate feedback. Obviously, if you don't want to use the digital books, or if you don't want to use the Libro webs, you can use the interactive exercises that are included in your platform. Where can you find those interactive exercises? Once again, they can be found in temas generales or projects. And this is just an example of the exercises that can be found there. You just select the correct or incorrect answer. You have the fill in the blanks exercises. You have the click and drag. There are plenty of exercises for you to choose from. And it doesn't really matter which series you're using. You have all of them available. So go ahead, try them out. By the way, everything is included here in temas generales. Now, if you don't want to use those, you can create yours. Or just as I told you, there is a new function coming your way, which will let you create your own interactive exercises. Very short, very precise exercises, but they will be yours, and they will be like the way you want them to be created. So hopefully soon enough, you will be able to create yours. Now, what happens with reading? With reading, you have, once again, plenty of things at your disposal. If you want to, this, by the way, this is for high school, and this is the Pathway to Science, okay? The Pathway to Science books. They are there for you. You can get some readings. You can look for an interesting topic over here. You can send it to your students. They can read it. And then you assign something else. You assign a follow-up activity where you discuss it next time you get online. But you can use them from here. Now, if you don't want to use the books that you have at your disposal, which, by the way, in elementary school, there are, and they are there as well, then you can use my own, which we have good news. We just received an email that my own was available for you to use for free, with certain limitations, but for free, up until the end of May. But guess what? Now you will be able to use it up until the end of June. So you have another month worth of lectures, literature, more than 5,000 books to choose from. So go ahead, use it. You and your students have access to this. Why not use it? Okay. By the way, when you go to my own, let me just like log in. Angela, when she was working with you in her webinar, she showed you like how you can use these readings, and she gave a very good explanation of how just a reading can become something more interesting when you narrate it. And maybe you can have your students sharing a different ending. You can have your students modify the reading. It's up to you what you want to do with it. Okay, so there you have it. You have plenty of books to choose from. And if you don't want to use those, that's okay, because I understand maybe you don't want to use my own, you want to use something else. That's fine, because if you're working with elementary school, then you have access to something that is called Richmond Cartoons. Where can where are the Richmond Cartoons? They can be found once again in Temas Generales. By the way, I'm just going to erase this and I'm going to look for Richmond. And there you have it. You have all the Richmond Cartoons in here, and all the Richmond Cartoons, it doesn't matter if you're helping your students get familiar with the ETS process or the Cambridge process for evaluations, you have both versions here. So depending on the skill you want to develop with your students, you can choose it from here. I'm just going to open one, let's say this one, Richmond Cartoons level number 4. And then you have the video and you have the exercises, the listening, reading, writing, even speaking exercises included right here, and the audio track as well. When you open them, it looks something like this. This is for reading and it's taken from Richmond Cartoons. Now, the good thing about Richmond Cartoons is that it's available from 1st to 6th grade. Unlike English Attack, which is from 4th to 6th, this one is for the entire elementary school. So use it. And if you don't want to use Richmond Cartoons, you want to use something else, that's fine, because when you are here, when you are logged in your platform, let me just erase this. And let me go back to my English folder. You will find that you have the very first folders available here are this one, the Thematic Library. And if you choose the Thematic Library, I'm just going to open one. By the way, I think I have one over here. Yes, I have this one over here. So this is something else you can do with your students. You can share this and they come with the audio track, just like with my own, so they can practice listening and reading at the same time. It's really up to you the way you want to approach this, okay? Now, moving on to the listening section. The first one and the most obvious one, the best one that I can actually recommend you is English Attack, because not only do you get the photo vocab exercises, but you also get the video booster exercises. And here they watch a very short video, once again, short videos. And there's a question. Oh, no, if you haven't. It's okay, Miss Nelly. It's okay. You can check the video on YouTube or on Facebook, and you can see the rest of the information. Thank you very much for being here. So with the video boosters, you can use, the students are going to watch a video, they have the vocabulary, and they have a bunch of exercises which are related to said video. You can use the Richmond Cartoons, which I just showed you, but instead of using the reading section, you use the listening section. Or you can use embedded videos and interactive videos. I'm using here this one, which is Play Pause It. And when you use the Play Pause It website, you take a video and then you add interactions, you add specific questions at specific moments. So you can create them just like the one that you are looking at the screen right now. Or you can wait for a couple of days, and when we get the new function in Stella for you, you will be able to upload your videos as well and create interactions for your students. So it's even easier that way. Or you can create different exercises in different websites. Now, when it comes to writing, the most common one would be this one. Let me go back here to my platform, but right now I need to change back to high school. And I'm going to select my class, which is this one over here, and then I'm going to forum. You can have your students work with forums. Now, I have a question over here in the chat. What's the difference between Ava and Compartir? That's a very interesting question. The thing about Ava is just a repository. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this word correctly, but it's just a repositorio. What we know in Spanish is a repositorio. Whereas Compartir in the platform, what we have over here is an LMS, a learning management system. So it's not just having the resources here. You can do so much more with Stella because you can interact with your students, you can create the forums, you can assign your activities, you can have communication both ways with your students. Why can we have, I invite you, Ms. Fernanda, to join us in Compartir because take a look at this. We have a lot of material waiting for you. I have another message from Ms. Aurea. Which book, Ms. Aurea? I don't know which one you're talking about, but if you send it in the chat, we can check it because I'm sure you have it there. And well, moving on with this, you have the forum, you can interact with your students. Obviously, you have your welcome, you have your big questions or your your very special question to get your students speaking or writing in this case. And then you can include as well the instructions, the way they need to behave, the way they need to work here. Now, if you don't want to use the forums, you can do something else. You can use Kami. Kami is a website. Let me show it to you very quickly. Kami is a website that allows you to upload or work with blank templates or upload yours. And then you can have all these tools available, the ones that you have on the left. You can add more pictures. You can draw on them. You can work collaboratively. So you can have students work on this. When they work collaboratively, you can get students to work here. They make their presentation. And then when the online meeting comes, they can present it to you. There's another one, which is the book creator. I think Eric mentioned this a couple of days ago. And it's obviously, well, a chance to have students creating their own books, sort of speaking, but writing at the same time. And also you can create your own exercises, your own templates, your own questionnaires, your own formats, and then you upload them to the platform and you share them with your students, and you have your students working with something that you created specifically for them. Okay, now with the speaking, you can play some games. You can have students make presentations. You can have students completing stories, just as I think I told you a couple of minutes ago. And take a look at this. This is a website, which is just a wheel spinner. But the thing about this is something as simple as this. You just input the words you want. By the way, I selected this. And when you spin the wheel, sorry, it lands on a specific word. And maybe you can start telling a story using the word. Oh, yes, the other day I was sitting on my porch, and then all of a sudden I realized that I hadn't done my homework. And then you remove the word from here so that it doesn't repeat the same word. You spin the wheel once again, and the next student needs to come up with the continuation of the story using now this particular word. So you can practice verbs, you can practice vocabulary, you can practice whatever it is that you have in mind. If you don't want to use this, you can use an app, or you can play your own version of this, which is Pick the Word. And for this, I'm going to show you my screen from the cell phone. Just give me 1 second. And you should be looking at my cell phone right now. This is an app, it's for free, and it's called Pictoword. And when you open the app, basically you are given 2 different pictures, and you need to say what the word is. So in this case, you have star, you have art, so the word should be start. Obviously, you cannot see the entire screen because of my resolution, but you have it over there. Start, you get some points, and then you get some other pictures. So if you don't want to do it like this, you can work with your own versions or your own pictures if you want. Now, let me just take this away. Just give me 1 second because I'm having problems with my second screen. There we go. Okay. So if you don't want to work like this, Biddy and her Biddy tips, which I'm a fan of, she was sharing with you the other day this website, this app, which is called Anchor, and then you can have your students record their webinars, their podcasts, and they can share them with you. So that way they're speaking, and not only are they speaking in the online meeting, they're speaking prior to that meeting, and they can share them with you as well. And obviously, if you're using this kind of software like Google Hangouts, Google Meet, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, or whichever, then you can give, or you should give students the option to speak. Okay, so maybe make a presentation about something, but try to avoid the common sentence like what you did last summer. Try to do something a little bit more, a little bit different, and use all the other resources to make it happen. Now, very quickly, because we don't have too much time, let me show you here. When you're working in your platform, just as I told you, you can create your own activities. I don't think we will have time to check both, but the thing is that this is the very same activity with slight variations, and I wanted you to see them so that you can tell, like, maybe instead of using vocabulary, well, now you're using reading, or instead of using listening, now you're including grammar, and it's up to you. But I'm going to show you at least one of those. And obviously, just as another recommendation, by the way, Angie, is it possible to read the information or not? No, right? Okay.
Can you a little bit bigger?
Yeah, same as before. So
that's okay. A little bit less. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. So there you go. Within the instructions, You can, obviously you can use colors to make it more appealing for students and to make it even easier to navigate. And here you notice that this activity or this assignment is divided into 3 different sections or 3 different moments. The first one, the part number 1, is due on May the 4th, which is today at midnight. And what they have to do, they need to go to English Attack and they need to complete their assignment. I don't need to include it over here because when they log into English Attack, the assignment will be there. And it has the basic and the advanced sets, and they need to complete both. Then part number 2 is due on May the 5th at 6:30 p.m. and they need to click on the safety regulations video, which is included here, by the way. And they need to do some other things. They need to take some notes. And then when they're done, they need to take a screenshot because this is the one that I included over here with the questions. So they need to answer the questions, take a screenshot, send it via platform. And there you have your evidence that your students actually did the homework. And then once they're done, they need to go to the forum and they need to start writing what they think about the topic and so on and so on. And then part number 3 is due on May the 6th at 10 a.m. I think. And then right after the instructions, you have this, like finally on May the 6th at 10 a.m. we'll get together to check everything. And when the time comes, click here. So when they actually click there, it'll take them to the online meeting to join. Now, these are the resources that I included. All of those resources are here in Temas Generales. Some of them are my own, and that's why I created my own folder here in Biblioteca with the resources. But you can do so as well. You just go to Biblioteca, you add yours, and you upload your resources, okay? Do you have any questions so far? Nothing. Okay. Good. Now, oh, sorry, I should be here. Just to wrap it up, at the beginning of the session, I told you about this 2 truths, 1 lie exercise, and it was this. And if I remember correctly, you thought number 2 was the lie. Do you want to change your mind? Please vote in the chat if you change your mind based on what I did, based on what I said, based on the way I expressed myself. If you change your mind, that's okay. You just give me the number if you think it's number 1, if you think it's number 2, or if you think it's number 3, the lie. Okay. So I'm reading you in the chat. Okay, apparently no one changed their mind. Okay, still thinking number 3. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Bravi. I think it's number 2. Thank you, Ms. Fernanda. Okay, if you didn't change your mind based on what I did, what I said, the way I expressed, that's okay. Actually, the one that is a lie is number 2. I'm not a frustrated YouTube content creator. I haven't even tried it, so I'm not frustrated. I don't think I will, but who knows? So whoever said number 3, I took German classes a long time ago, but I barely remember anything. And I'm very good at crafting. I enjoy doing things with my hands. If you noticed, when I was talking to you, I was always moving my hands, and I think that has to do with it. So if you have any questions, now would be the time to ask them. I'm here, and maybe we can chat. If you want to open your mics, just raise your hands, and my friends over here will allow you to speak, or you can share them in chat. Or if you don't have any questions, how can your school get Compartir? Okay, Joseph and well, the rest of my team, I think this is very important. Ms. Fernanda Valenzuela, why don't you just send us an email to the, and Sully, could you send the email or include the email in the chat, please? And why don't you just send us an email and then we will get in touch with you and we can explain to you the way we work. What was the name of the first game with the roulette, Miss Aurea? It was this one. It's a website, actually. It's this one. It's toolsunite.com, and it's just a random picker wheel. So you just go here, you include your words, you update it, and then that's it. Thank you, Angela. Miss Fernanda, that's the email. Maybe you can send us an email there, and we can get in touch with you and your school. I'm glad you liked it, Miss Aurea. Okay, so if you don't have any questions, I think it'll be safe for me to say that that's all I can share with you today. It was a pleasure being here, and you have my email address in case you have any questions, in case you want to chat about something you're doing with your students, you want to share something, go ahead. Okay, we're always there, we're always available, and it'll be a pleasure for us to be with you in this journey. So thank you once again. My name is Jesus Ruiz, and before you go, thank you, Fernanda. Thank you, Miss Aurea. And before you go, Miss Fernanda, if you can text me privately, maybe an email, so that we can get in touch with you as well, that'll be awesome. And before you go, there'll be a survey on your screens right about now, I think. So if you could help us answering these questions, it would be, well, it would mean a lot to us, because that way we can always improve and we can make things better for you. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you, Ms. Guadalupe. Thank you, Ms. Elizabeth, Ms. Eva, Ms. Lina. Thank you for being here, and don't forget to answer the survey.
Thank you very much, Jesus.
And I have your email as well.
Thank you. ¿Pueden escucharme?
Alto y claro.
Sí.
Ok, muchas gracias. Bueno, Jesús, muchísimas gracias por compartir con nosotros esta información. Miss Fernanda, por favor, mándanos tus datos para que podamos ponernos en contacto contigo y que te podamos hablar un poco más de todo lo que compartir es. Por ahí tenemos a un profesor levantando la mano. Ahorita abrimos el micrófono. Nada más para cerrar la sesión, mi nombre es Claudia Pacheco, yo soy coordinadora de innovación, proyectos académicos e inglés en compartir. Me da muchísimo gusto poderme despedir de ustedes y agradecerles el tiempo que nos han dedicado el día de hoy e invitarlos a las siguientes sesiones que tendremos. En inglés específicamente el jueves tenemos una sesión muy interesante sobre evaluación. Por favor, acompáñenos, será a las 12 del día. Y vamos a platicar acerca de evaluación y feedback, y sobre todo en estos momentos en los que estamos trabajando a distancia. Además, como otras sesiones adicionales que tendremos, no nada más para el área de inglés, vamos a tener una sesión muy interesante de qué está pasando con el confinamiento y cómo afecta a nuestras familias. Entonces, también los invitamos para que se integren con nosotros de esta sesión que será el próximo miércoles. Y vamos a hablar acerca de qué hacer para gestionar el tiempo de manera correcta y cómo detectar si ya estamos cayendo por ahí en estrés y cómo lidiar con él. Entonces también los esperamos. Esta invitación está abierta inclusive para padres de familias, si así quieren ustedes invitar a los padres. Sería muy interesante que nos pudieran acompañar. Y además vamos a tener también el día de mañana descansamos porque sabemos que para algunos de los colegios es un día de asueto, mañana no tenemos actividad, y el viernes tampoco, porque sabemos que también están ustedes ya trabajando en algunos cierres. Sin embargo, los invitamos a que se integren con nosotros también el día miércoles para estas sesiones y el jueves. El jueves tenemos otra sesión, chicos, aparte de la de inglés, ¿cierto? Si alguien me puede pasar por ahí el dato.
Sí, es la de Ada con Mari Carmen.
Ah, claro. Analítica de aprendizaje, que es uno de nuestros más importantes motores. Nosotros tenemos una herramienta que nos permite llevar un registro de qué están haciendo los alumnos y cómo podemos apoyarlos. Entonces, bueno, pues nada, no queda más que agradecerles nuevamente su tiempo. Van a poder encontrar esta sesión junto con todas las demás que hemos tenido a lo largo de estos meses, de estas semanas de trabajo, en nuestros canales tanto de YouTube como de Facebook, LinkedIn, en todas nuestras redes sociales. Por favor, únanse a nuestras redes sociales y nuevamente muchas gracias por destinarnos este tiempo en esta tarde. Gracias, Jesús. Gracias a todo el equipo Compartir. Mil gracias por su apoyo. Buenas tardes a todos.
Buenas tardes.